Hey guys, and welcome to part 4. We're going to talk about child rearing practices and how we start developing in our children, child years, as teenagers, and even beyond. First up, I want you guys to think about how you're raised. Do your parents kind of let you do whatever? Are they a little bit strict and you have to follow certain rules? Or is there kind of give and take? So we have 3 main parenting styles: authoritarian, permissive, and authoritative. Authoritarian, parents impose rules and expect obedience. Permissive, parents submit to children's demands. And authoritative, parents are demanding but responsive to their children. Authoritative parenting correlates with social competence. There's an easygoing temperament, and it invokes the authoritative parenting style. So they all kind of work together, and this is one of the parenting styles most people try to aim for, where there's kind of leeway in between. Like, hey mom, I did my homework, I have all A's and B's in my classes, can I please go to the movies on Friday? Adolescence. Many psychologists used to believe that our traits were set during childhood, but now with more research, we're starting to believe that the development of traits is a lifelong process. In adolescence, which you guys are probably familiar with already, is the time period between childhood and adulthood. You know, those real awkward years that you look back on and you hope you never wear what you were wearing. Adolescence begins with puberty. Puberty tends to occur earlier with females, right around 11 years old, and then males right around 13 years old. That's why we see the height increase in females before. Like in 5th grade, you see all the tall girls. During puberty, primary sexual characteristics start to develop rapidly. This is where we see lots of our bodily changes, and you guys all took health class, so you get the gist of this. We also see deepening of the voice in males, pubic hair, armpit hair, and these changes happen so that in caveman times they would start to reproduce early. Nowadays, we wait. Most of us either go career or college, have fun, travel the world, build a house, buy a car, and then eventually settle down if you choose to do so. Brain development. So up until puberty, neurons are always increasing their connections. However, at adolescence, selective pruning of the neurons begin. So the neural connections that are unused are lost so that other pathways can become more efficient, which is pretty cool. Neurons in the frontal cortex grow myelin, and if you guys remember back from the biological unit, myelin goes around parts of the neuron to speed up nerve messages. The frontal cortex lags between the limbic system's development and hormonal surges, and the limbic system may explain occasional impulsivity. This is our frontal cortex. It's the slowest to fully develop. Sometimes we don't think rationally, but science shows this. It's predictable. We know. With cognitive development, adolescents' ability to reason gives them a new level of social awareness. During adolescence, you're thinking on your own. You're worried about what others think, whereas when you're 5 or 6, you're worried about, are you going to get 3 Oreos or 4? You're worried about whether or not you can ride your bike. You also are worrying about what others are thinking about you, and how you can reach your goals. You start to think about society and your parents, and even kind of question yourself, like, who are you becoming? What do you even want to become? Developing reasoning power, and according to PDJ, which you guys have already talked about, adolescents can handle abstract problems with formal operations. Adolescents can judge good from evil, truth and justice. People think about God in different ways. This is just an example from the book, but whoever you believe in, or if you choose to believe in, or whatever you choose to believe in, you can think deep. You are going above and beyond just like, okay, 3 apples and 2 apples is 5 apples. You're going beyond like, what can I use apples for? I can make applesauce. I can make an apple pie. You're thinking beyond. Developing morality with Kohlberg. He sought to describe development of moral reasoning, and found that there's stages of moral development. And so he would ask children and adolescents, should a person steal medicine to save a loved one's life? If you asked me 5 years ago, I would say, maybe. Now, having a son of my own, in a heartbeat. If I could save his life, I would. So here's some of the stages. Pre-conventional morality before age 9. Children show morality to avoid punishment. Conventional morality by early adolescence. Social rules and laws are upheld. If you're driving fast, you're going to get a ticket. Post-conventional, people's agreed upon rights or follows personal perceived ethical principles. It's better to share because you don't want to get in trouble by mom or dad for not sharing, because then toys could get taken away. Moral feeling is more than just moral thinking. The moral feelings, worrying about other people as well, being very self-aware. The brain's emotional areas only light up when the nature of the dilemma is emotion-driven. But when we're posed with moral feelings, our brains aren't lighting up, which is kind of weird. Moral action involves doing the right thing. People who engage in doing the right thing develop empathy and self-discipline. And then we have social development, and this is with Erikson's stages, and we're going to go over more of this again. Infancy, you have trust versus mistrust. You have an infant, they rely on you 100%. If you just leave your child there for a couple hours, don't talk to them, don't play with them, don't feed them, they're going to start to not trust you. Whereas if they start to cry and you know it's about time to feed them and you get them food, they're going to be like, oh, this person brought me food, I can trust them, and so on. Forming an identity. In Western cultures, many adolescents try to find out different selves before settling. When you're searching for these identities, you tend to form close relationships. So just think about your friend groups. Think about the things you all have in common. I know you guys are all different from one another, and you might have different views on different things, but you probably have some of the same beliefs, and that's why you are friends with these people. And then finally, parent and peer influence. Although teens become independent of their parents as they grow older, they always relate to their parents on a number of things. Peer approval is super important. As well as even parental approval. However, most of the time, you've kind of followed in the footsteps of what your parents think is appropriate. So if they have always mentioned as you've grown up that they want you to go to college, you're probably going to go to college. Where if they're like, hey, I don't care what you do as long as you're kind and respectful, then you might not go into college, you might find a trade, you might become an entrepreneur yourself. So who knows? But I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you later.